In the garden outside Silver Dragon Castle, the sunlight poured over the blooms like honey, casting warmth and light on everything it touched. Water droplets slipped from a hanging pot, each one hitting the ground in a soft rhythm, blending with the quiet rustle of leaves stirred by a gentle breeze. Leon and Rose Wysa walked side by side, an invisible wall standing between them. Leon's hands were jammed in his pockets, his gaze darkened by frustration, while Rose walked a step ahead, her graceful stride a touch sharper than usual. Two dragons maiden, watching the scene unfold. One nudged the other, eyes glinting with mischief. "Look at that, the queen and the prince. A perfect match on paper," he teased, his voice dripping with irony. The other dragon chuckled, flicking his tail. "Sure, they look nice together, but don't you feel something's off? It's like watching two strangers." Their words seemed to linger, and Leon and Rose both faltered, casting a brief, almost cautious glance at each other. In that one look, everything unspoken hovered between them, a mixture of hurt, pride, and the weariness that comes from endless misunderstandings. Rose's gaze fell, and she turned her head quickly, picking up her pace. Leon, lost in thought, trailed behind. How did it come to this? He wondered, his mind pulling him back to their tense exchange earlier. "Why should I even go on this walk?" Rose had demanded, arms crossed and gaze unwavering. "You're part of this family too, Leon. Keeping up the appearance of unity is as much your job as it is mine." Now, with the vibrant colors of the garden around them, Leon couldn't help but feel a shift in her. There was something different, something uncertain in her usually unbreakable composure. What's going on with her? He asked himself, his thoughts tangled in the quiet frustration of trying to understand her without the words to bridge the gap. Meanwhile, behind a large tree, their daughters Myun and Noah peered around the trunk, eyes wide with curiosity. Myun, always the more mischievous, elbowed her sister and stifled a giggle. "Look at him," she whispered with a smirk. "He can't even hold her hand. Clueless, as always." Noah tried not to laugh, but the sight of her parents' awkward dance of silence was enough to crack a smile. Myun's eyes sparkled with excitement, and with a quick clench of her little fists, she made up her mind. "Myun's going to help them," she declared, her voice tinged with fierce determination. Noah, calm and composed as ever, sighed and shook her head. "Just leave them alone," she whispered, her tone gentle but steady. But before she could hold her back, Myun was off, her tiny legs carrying her swiftly toward their parents. A gleam of mischief lit her face as she darted forward, determined to play her part in bringing her parents closer. Bounding up to them, Myun's voice rang out, clear and bright. "Mom, Dad!" Leon and Rose turned, startled by their daughter's sudden appearance, their thoughts interrupted. "Myun, why did you follow us?" Leon asked, his voice a mix of surprise and concern. Ignoring the question, Myun wrapped her small hands around each of theirs, her fingers curling over their larger hands and pulling them together. "When you take a walk, you're supposed to hold hands," she said with a giggle, her innocent smile lighting up her whole face. Caught off guard, Leon and Rose stood frozen, staring at their linked hands in stunned silence. Myun grinned at her victory and skipped away, calling over her shoulder, "Now Myun's going to play with sister." Leon watched her prance back, a bemused smile tugging at his lips. Where does she get these ideas? He wondered, shaking his head. A little farther off, Noah had her hands full, literally. Myun barely had a second to catch her breath before Noah descended on her, grabbing her cheeks in a pinch of sibling fury. Myun's face crumpled, and she let out a whimper. "Boo-boo, Myun was wrong. Myun won't do it again, sister. Please let go." Back in the garden, Leon and Rose stood with their hands still clasped, neither quite ready to let go. A deep flush crept over Rose's cheeks as she looked away, her hands suddenly too warm. Leon scratched the back of his head awkwardly, his voice a mumble. "This is unexpected. What now?" In the silence, a soft chuckle escaped Rose. She looked at him, a glint of amusement in her eyes that hadn't been there before. Rose closed her eyes, her cheeks tinged pink as she tried to mask her embarrassment. "It's fine. Just hold it like this. It's not a big deal," she murmured, though her voice hinted at her discomfort. Leon couldn't resist a smile, sensing her unease. "You're being extra docile today. Not sure what to make of it," he teased gently, his tone light but playful. Behind the nearby tree, Noah and Myun peeked out, their eyes glinting with mischief as they observed their parents with growing amusement. Rose's lips curved into a smirk, her eyes still closed as she shot back. Seems like I've tamed you, Leon. Being alone with me throws you off, doesn't it? Leon's gaze softened as he looked at her, his thoughts drifting. Rose had always been the picture of a queen, strong and poised, a model of composure for everyone around her. But maybe her distant demeanor wasn't coldness. Maybe it was just uncertainty, a queen uncertain how to bridge the gap, even with her own children. They continued walking hand in hand through the garden, and for a moment, the two of them looked like any ordinary couple. Leon eventually broke the silence, clearing his throat. You know, Myun and Noah always call you mother in front of you. Rose glanced at him, her brow slightly furrowed. Is there a problem with that? Leon's grin turned mischievous, his eyes gleaming with humor. Well, they call me Dad, and it feels warmer somehow. But Mother? Sounds a bit formal, don't you think? Rose raised an eyebrow, her irritation flickering to the surface. Is there really such a big difference between Mother and Mom? Leon's grin grew, bright and almost impish. Of course. Just imagine. Mom feels more personal, right? I bet if they called you that, they'd feel even closer to you. Rose's expression softened, his words settling somewhere deep. She looked down at their clasped hands, then back at Leon, a hint of warmth in her gaze. Maybe you're right, she said quietly, the idea making her heart flutter just a little. Rose's cheeks warmed as she glanced away, caught off guard by his suggestion. Fine, got it, she muttered, giving his hand a tug as she pulled him forward. I'll try next time. Leon chuckled, stumbling slightly to keep up with her sudden brisk pace. Hey, why the rush? Did I say something wrong? They strolled together, hand in hand, toward a large, imposing warehouse near the castle. The silence between them was oddly comfortable, and as they neared the building, Rose glanced at him thoughtfully. Hey, Leon, do you ever feel homesick? Leon raised an eyebrow, surprised by the question. Why ask? Not like you'd let me go back anyway. Rose's expression softened, a faint vulnerability flickering in her gaze. True, I can't let you go back. But maybe I can do something to make it a little easier for you. They stopped in front of the towering warehouse doors, and Leon looked up, intrigued. What is this place? Rose held up a key, a small smile playing on her lips. No grand name really, just a warehouse. Or a utility room, if you prefer. She unlocked the door, pushing it open to reveal the treasures within. Leon's jaw dropped as he took in the sight. Golden artifacts, jeweled trinkets, rare pieces glinting under the dim light. His gaze landed on a sleek sports bracelet, his eyes lighting up. It's like a dragon's hoard. That bracelet alone could fetch a fortune back in the Empire. Rose folded her arms, watching his reaction with an amused smile. That one? My grandmother gave it to me when I was little. A lot of these things mean something to me. Leon looked at her, genuinely curious. I haven't heard much about your family, apart from your sister. Rose's expression softened, her voice quieter. I never knew my parents. It was just my sister and me, raised by our grandmother. She hesitated, a glint of wistfulness in her eyes. Leon's gaze softened as he looked at her. For a moment, they were just two people, bound by a shared sense of longing. Leon's face softened, a glimmer of understanding in his eyes. I know how that feels, he said quietly. I grew up in orphanage, raised by my master and his wife. Never met my parents either. A warm smile spread across his face as he looked back at her, his tone lightening. So, what exactly did you want to show me here? Rose opened a box, her expression both gentle and resolute. I thought you might want something to ease your troubles. If only for a little while? Curious, Leon leaned forward, only for his breath to hitch as his eyes fell on the contents, a gleaming black gold armor, unmistakable in its intricate design. Recognition flashed through him as he took a shaky breath, barely daring to believe it. Am I dreaming? Are you really giving this to me? Rose's smile deepened, her gaze taking on a playful edge. That's right. Leon reached out, his fingertips brushing the cool surface of the armor. The instant his skin made contact, a radiant blue light pulsed from within, forming the shape of an enchanted dragon mark that glowed on the armor's chest. Leon's hand stilled, his heart sinking as memories surged forward. The enchanted dragon mark. Black Gold Armor, my old friend. How did you end up here? Watching his reaction, Rose crossed her arms, her smile turning wicked. Looks like you've finally fallen right into my trap, Leon. Leon's jaw clenched as he glared up at her, a spark of frustration mixing with admiration. Thanks for hanging out till the end of this video. You probably know by now that my first channel is running into some bumps with this series. But don't sweat it. From now on, all the episodes will drop right here on this channel. So smash that subscribe button. Your support will help me finish my criteria in no time. I'm beyond grateful for all of you. Let's keep this adventure rolling.